Alright guys, welcome back. So I've been getting pretty bad about getting these updates on. A lot of the stuff I've been doing in the car lately has been kind of like little minor things, nothing too intensive that wouldn't be too difficult for someone to kind of figure out, or someone like basic maintenance on it. One of the things was I got the brakes working. The brakes are good now. They still need to be broken in, really. Let's see if I can find the light. This, I guess, this will work. So you can kind of see on that one, maybe, it still looks a little pitted, so the pads should be wearing into it a little bit more and more every time I drive it, so that it becomes nice and smooth again. If not, I could probably just take them all off and go get them resurfaced. I already checked the measurements, so they should be good to go. Actually, they don't look too bad anymore, actually. Look a little better. The ones I think I will have to fix, the ones I think I will have to get resurfaced at the very least is the right rear. So you can see right there, pad's not making full contact. So for whatever reason, the bottom of the pad's not touching. So I'm thinking the pad might be off, and it might even be off in the back. So I can't really tell. And then this side, I think this side's good. Yeah, this side's starting to look a little better. Again, there's still little areas that can be smoothened out. I think that's the biggest reason why the brakes feel a little mushy. That's because the rotors and the pads are still kind of a little rusty, and they're starting to wear off. They're getting better and better, so there's always that. I don't have to buy replacement brakes for these because I do want to upgrade down the line, and I'd much rather save up to replace them with upgraded ones than buying a new set, which granted they're not that expensive. I'd much rather invest that money towards something else that I'm gonna keep on the car. So for now, the brakes work fine. As far as like running on the track, I don't know how well they'll hold up, but as of right now, because of current events in the world, it's probably not gonna be that big of an issue anyways. All of the track days, as far as I know in my area, for the next foreseeable couple weeks have been canceled, and there's no events as far as I know within the next couple weeks that are scheduled to occur. So very unfortunate. It really sucks. I was really looking forward to being able to take this car out to the track and see how well she runs and kind of like really push to the limits and to see what else I'm gonna need to work on. But I guess sometimes things don't go to plan, but that's fine. That just means I'm gonna have more time to actually work on this car to get it done, which, I mean, there's still quite a few more things I needed to get done on the car. It was drivable and I was able to be taken to the track, but there's like little things I can finish now that I don't have to worry about later on down the road. I can get it done now. Everything will be put together, and anything else I do to the car will just be purely modifications, whether it be performance wise or visual, which there are a few visual mods I'm still waiting to do on this car, which I might just do here today just to get it out of the way. And I put the exhaust in too. I did that a couple days ago. I got it all mocked up. It's all bolted down. And I might need to adjust it a little bit more. I mean, as far as I can tell, it's pretty straight. But I can adjust it more to make it look a little better. So, you kind of see right there. Got the Watts link installed. Looks pretty good with that fresh red powder coat. It's actually a little dirty because it's used, but it does the job. It functions the way it's supposed to, and it looks pretty good in there, honestly. Aside from the rest of the axle being very rusty, but it is what it is. I don't know what that receipt is, but there's a receipt down there. Exhaust, obviously, yep, is all installed, bolted up. I did have to go under here, as you can see. So there's the hole right there that is supposed to be the actual original hole for the exhaust on the 05 to 09. On the, I guess probably the 10s and 11s are up. The mounting point is 2 inches forward. So there was no real way to mount this up without the muffler sticking out 2 inches back, and it wouldn't really made up properly. So what I ended up doing is I just ended up drilling a hole in there so I can get in there and get the bolt in there. And then aside from that, there was also another issue. I couldn't get the drill. On the side right there, so you can see. So the bolt's still in the original hole, and then there's the marking I did right there. And I already did the center punch and kind of like tapped it to where the hole is supposed to go. I haven't gotten around to try to make that hole yet, so I can actually put both of them on there. But for the time being, it's fine. So what I am doing is on the rest of this whole frame, it's not as lengthy. I guess it's not as thick as where that hole is. So you can drill a hole and tap it, but it'll only be maybe like 2 threads. And I didn't want to trust it that it will hold in place using it like that. So what I ended up doing is, you can kind of tell right there that this doesn't look how the rest of these ones look usually with the bolt and the washer on it. And that's because for these, after I drilled and tapped the hole, I used a magnet. Actually, no, the magnet didn't work. I ended up using one of those grabber tools. Like if you drop something and you just like use the little grabber tool to grab it from whatever you dropped it in. And I fed it through there, and I dropped it. I lined it up, dropped it through the hole, and I used a magnet to pull it through. And then just from the other side, I started threading it through. So then I just threaded it through as best as possible. And then once it was as hand tight as I can get it, used some vice grips, clamped down on the end of it right there, and then turned it until it basically was, I guess, not hand tight, but tightened down. So at the top of that was sitting flush. And then underneath, I just took a regular nut, which I'm still going to end up replacing with some self-locking nuts, actually, just to be sure. But we have that. And I put the washer in there because it needs the washer, so that way it's not sitting on there crooked, because the hole around the bracket is almost as big as the nut. So I needed the washer, so it would sit there flush and flat. But it works. This went on straight. It's perfectly distanced, and I was able to bolt it up on there. Because otherwise, you can tell right there that this, not the bracket, but the mounting arm from the exhaust, it would not fit because it sits too far back. So this had to have been done so that way I can get this exhaust mounted up. And consequently, like any exhaust for the 11 and up for the 5.0s, I was gonna have to do this anyways, unless I wanted to modify each exhaust I use on this car over and over again. So this way it would be easier, so I can just mount any exhaust for the Coyotes for 11 to 14 on this car with no issues at all. I got the door trim mocked up on here, so it's not bolted down all the way yet. I have the bolt that goes in from the door lever and then the handle. So those are in currently right now, holding this in place. Same thing over there. And then once I get a chance to get this all aligned, I'll finish it up. I get the nails on there so I can get the rest of it bolted down, so it's good to go. For the bottom, you have to modify a few of them because the holes don't line up, so you have to drill a hole. Same thing with this over here. Unfortunately, while this would have been much cleaner, the holes don't line up, so I'm gonna have to cut some holes in there. I might be able to cut it where this little flap still goes, so it looks a little bit better. Also got the back seats in, looking good, and obviously the passenger seat, which I just left out so that way I have some room to move around in here, so I don't feel so cramped. That's really about it. There's not much else left to do. This car came along pretty fast, and everything kind of went through really easily. Yeah, there's just a few things I really need to do. So like these door sills, I still have to pull them off again, and then put the taping on the bottom so it can hold down. Like right now it doesn't really have it, so it kind of just flaps. But that's easy, like 10-15 minute job. Not too worried about it. I just throw it on there so I can see how everything lines up, make sure everything's good to go. Over here on the donor car, this donor car has pretty much been almost completely taken apart now. The only thing that's really left on it are just nuts and bolts that I just left in there just so I know where they come from. Took off the doors. I was working on taking off these striker pins, I guess, or door latches. Got the top one off, and then the bottom one got stripped, so that's still stuck on there. I have to get the like a screw extractor and try to remove that, because whatever reason these were star bits, and you slip off of it just a little bit and then it's gonna strip it. So that happened, and I was working on the one on this side, and doing fine. that one I got off just for the bottom one to get stripped. So that one's also stuck there until I get that bolt removed. But it's fine. Also removed all of the weather stripping for the most part, aside from the ones on the windshields and all the side mirrors and everything. Which here tomorrow, I should be having someone come out and they'll help me remove all the windshields, the back windshield, the quarters, and the front windshield. Which the back windshield looks fine. There wasn't any visible damage I can tell right off, like just initially looking at it. Once it's off, clean it all up, double check, make sure everything's good. And if so, then this should be able to be resold along with the quarters, so I can make some money off of all of this. Front windshield is done for. It's pretty much just cracked in multiple spots. This bottom corner is missing a few chunks. This is just gonna get trashed. I might end up taking off that little piece actually before I do that, so I'll just scrape off that little metal clip. That way I can use that for something else if need be, or just have it as a spare just in case. As far as the rest of the car, there's obviously that damage that was in here, and there's that hole, the huge hole inside of the car, which I want to try to save the whole chassis, and someone will probably just like be able to cut it from here and then replace everything up front and then be able to reuse it. But after seeing that hole, it's going to be a lot more work than I thought it was going to be. And at this point, I just want to get rid of this shell as soon as possible. So I'm just ripping stuff off of it I can use. One of those being actually these quarter panels. I have a plan for these. I'm going to end up pretty much cutting this whole thing off, so starting from like this corner right where this groove is, going all the way over here, and then I'm gonna cut inward from here, follow this line, go all the way down, and then probably just like cut straight down from here, somewhere around here, cut straight down into it, then go around the bottom, all around the wheel well, and then all the way to the back. And then back here, follow this line again on the inside line, and then cut this whole inside line up to here, and then cut around this area right here, and then cut up here. So I'm gonna have this whole thing cut out, same thing with the opposite side, pull it off, and I'm gonna try to see if I can mock it up for a wide body kit. I seen someone on YouTube, and I'll link their name here and down below, that did something very similar. And what they did though is they used the exact same body style for their Mustang. But in this case, if you look at these, so for the 0509, they have kind of like the sharp edge quarter panel. It's a lot of like sharp edges. Whereas on this one, it's a lot more smooth edges. It kind of just transitions very smoothly. So it'll be interesting. I'll see how well this works, and it might be something kind of cool. So yeah, hopefully in the next few days be able to do that. Take everything off this car as much as possible. Try to lighten it up so I can probably get maybe like 4 or 5 people. We'll try to see if we can lift this car up and then throw it on a trailer and try to take it to like a metal scrapyard and see what I can get for it. Probably maybe only like $50 based on what I've heard, how much you get per poundage. And I imagine this thing as a shell maybe weighs something like 1,000 pounds. I don't know. We might get some scales and see how much it weighs. Over here, the XCharge 4-liter. It's been kind of just sitting here for a while, and now that this is being kind of wrapped up, I'm gonna go ahead and get an engine stand. I'm gonna remove the transmission. The transmission should be good. Everything should be good on that. Probably just end up selling the transmission. All these miscellaneous parts I have here. So I have the drive shaft, the steering column. I have a lot of like frame parts. Have the AC heater box right there, brake booster, the exhaust of it, a lot of miscellaneous trim, the dash is up there, interior like parts, just a whole bunch of random stuff like that. And then the engine and supercharger, all of that I'm going to end up tearing that thing apart, put it up on an engine stand, tear it apart, see how bad the damage is, kind of just determine what route I want to take if I want to try to fix it. The one thing I am going to have to find if I want to fix it is the right side cylinder head, and that one is still damaged and it's really badly dinged up underneath where the piston was destroyed. So if I want to actually rebuild this, I am going to have to swap that. And new ones are very expensive, don't want to do that. And then used ones, you still have to get them to a shop, get them cleaned up, get the valve seats done, all of that, and it's a lot more than you would want to. Otherwise, you might as well just get a whole new engine, and in that case, this whole thing kind of just becomes kind of pointless. You're either going to spend half the cost of a used engine fixing it, or might as well just buy a used engine and then see how well it runs, and it becomes more work than I really want to do at that point. Might end up just taking this whole thing apart, cleaning up everything that came with the supercharger, getting it fixed and ready to go. I will have to cut up all the extensions to the wiring harness and stuff like that I made, and I'll package some stuff in there that you're gonna need, like some butt connectors, stuff like that. And then whoever wants to buy it, because there's been quite a few people who have asked me if I'm selling it. Well, here's your answer now. I am considering it. It'll probably know within the next couple weeks once I start getting the chance to tear this engine apart and take the kit off and everything. I'm gonna go look into the paper gaskets between like the supercharger and like the intake manifold, or not the intake manifold cover. Those gaskets should still be fine. They look like they're in fair condition, but I'm just gonna see if they do require being replaced and what is the best way to get some made if need be. Like this one right here, so I have this one right here, which actually I have no idea where this came from. Weird. We'll figure it out. Might be from the throttle body, actually. No, that one has one. I have no idea where that came from. Alright. It might be from the other engine. Oh well. But yeah. So, tear this thing apart, and then we'll go from there and see how everything looks in there. And over here, actually on the car, this one itself, I have to get this front driver's side tire fixed, because it does have a nail in it, which I just put some rubber cement on it, and it holds air better now, so that's good. The right rear also loses air, but I didn't see any holes in it anywhere, so I do have to probably fill it with air, spray it down with soapy water, and see where the air bubbles are forming. Try to figure out what the leak is. But for the time being, they hold air throughout the day, so it's not too big of an issue. Maybe like over a week or two, it'll drop maybe 3 or 4 pounds of PSI, which that's not really that bad. The clutch has probably seen better days. I think it's getting to the point where it definitely needs to replace. It's making some interesting noises, which I don't like. It whines a lot when you're in first gear trying to put it into drive, or whenever you're trying to like release the clutch. So usually first gear I have to kind of ride the clutch a little bit until I build up speed. And I think also the slave cylinder is definitely going bad. There's days where it won't squeak, and then there's days where it'll just squeak the whole time. So I might as well just go in there. I ordered the clutch, which unfortunately is, I guess, going to show up way later than I was expecting, which really sucks, because I was hoping to get it within this week so I can replace that and start bringing it in, which this was before I found out that they ended up canceling the event, but I wanted to get the clutch, break it in, the 500 city miles or 1,000 highway miles. Now it's just going to probably do like 750, a mix of city and highway miles, so I can get the car to the track and be able to race it and not worry about having to break in the clutch. But now that I know that they ended up canceling the event, it's not big of a rush to get the new clutch in, but I might as well get it sooner than later, so that way if they do schedule one soon, I'm not worried about breaking in the clutch. The clutch will already be broken in, and I can just take her out to the track and see how well the clutch feels and how well she runs. Also need to replace the rear seal on the Tremec. I've noticed when I pull it in, I put it up on left, it was kind of leaking a little bit of transmission fluid from the back. I don't know if maybe the slip yoke of the drive shaft sits too far back. Maybe the drive shaft's just a little bit too short. We'll see if there's any way to kind of like adjust it so that way it fits a little bit better. Also got to double check, make sure it didn't get damaged, because it does look like it sits a little bit far back than it should. Yeah, at the same time I also ordered a new rear seal for the 256 to replace that while I have the transmission out. Might as well. So that should be coming in, I think, Friday. But I might as well end up waiting because I won't have the clutch here yet. But I still will be able to do all the other work on it. I can still replace the slave cylinder and that seal on it, and the clutch will probably just be able to sit there. If anything, I'll be able to at least take the transmission off and take a look at the clutch, see how bad the damage is on it. If it's still usable, maybe it just needs the slave cylinder to be replaced. If so, then I might just throw it back on for the time being, and then just run it as is, and then see how well it runs after replacing the slave cylinder. If not, I can take it off, wait until the new one shows up. Once the new one shows up, inspect it, make sure everything looks good on it, and then throw it on there, throw the transmission back in, fill it with fluid, and then take her out for a spin, start doing all those braking miles to get the clutch broken in so I can race out of the track. So yeah, that's a quick update on the Coyote swapped 06 and the donor over here, and obviously also the XCharge 4-liter engine. Just a quick update on the progress of everything, and then plans for that's what I'm going to be doing. So stay tuned. I'm hoping to get more videos released within the next couple days, so that way you guys can stay informed. That way, if any of you are looking to do a Coyote swap in your 05 to 09, whether it's a V6, a GT, or anything like that, it is actually fairly straightforward, especially if you have a full donor car. You can use that as a template to mock up everything, where everything goes, and aside from requiring obviously a good amount of space and tools, it's fairly straightforward. Honestly, it doesn't really require very much from you. It's just you gotta have the time, patience, maybe a little bit of money, and then a couple of buddies to help you out here from there. But other than that, not much else. A lot of stuff also helped is having a salvage part yard nearby you. If I remember all the stuff that I found in the salvage yard, so there's the fuse box bracket, the ECU bracket, a few miscellaneous parts up front, the rubber grommets for the radiator unit. This radiator expansion tank, the one I got, was toast. It was just cracked on the bottom, so that was useless. Just a lot of miscellaneous things like that you can find at a junkyard. Then instead of paying a whole bunch of money brand new. Oh, actually, that reminds me. This brake line, so the brake line from the hydraulic control unit to the ABS unit. Oh, no, that's not right. From the ABS hydraulic control unit to the brake booster, I guess the master cylinder. That line, one of the lines that came from there, was split. That line, brand new, is about $90. And then I went to that junkyard, and it had a 2013 V6, which the line is the exact same. They're the exact same part number. They're the exact same dimensions, everything. They're the exact same part. It fit perfectly. And I only paid $10. And that was for both of them. So both lines that come from the master cylinder to the ABS unit, I got both of those for $10. So not a bad deal. It's actually pretty good. I also had to replace the one that comes up front through the brace or the radiator support to the right or the front passenger side brake caliper, because that one was completely bent from the accident. So it wasn't cracked or anything in any part of it, but it was just bent and made it really difficult to kind of like lay it down on the radiator support to where it like laid perfectly flat, and then the grooves went the way they were supposed to. So I just said might as well just see if I can find that at the junkyard, find one that's not like completely curved and misshaped and everything. So I found that one too, replaced that one. Everything works fine now. I haven't really noticed any leaks anywhere from the brake system, fortunately. So hopefully from here on out, it's just getting those brake pads and rotors basically smoothed out from just driving it over and over again until they get completely smooth again, and they're a lot more reliable. That passenger rear side is probably way too far gone without being resurfaced, so I might end up getting that one resurfaced if need be. If not, by the time I buy the new kit, which will just be the 6-piston front Brembos with the upgraded rears, though those will be a lot better, and they'll be fresh everything. So the calipers, the brackets, pads, rotors, even the new brake lines, all of that. So I'll be able to replace the whole system, and it'll be a lot more reliable. People always say, why buy the 6-piston when the 4-piston is just as good? Well, one, because the 6-piston, you get a lot more clamping force. And two, I'm going to be autocrossing and then track racing this car. If you do daily driving, or if you just do drag racing, brakes like that are probably fine, and that's all you're going to need. You don't need the brakes to grab just as good the whole time. You just need them to grab that one instant that you are braking at the end of the drag race. Or in daily driving, you're not going to be slamming the brakes over and over and over again the whole time. But for me, since I'm going to be racing the car at the track, brake fade is very real. And I have already experienced this before from my time at the track when I blew up the engine. Brake fade creeps up on you very, very fast. And the really, really crappy part about it is when you start to get better and better of your lap times around the track, the car starts to be able to give you less and less, because you're not going to be able to brake as hard, and you're not going to be able to brake at the right time that you've been practicing for. You're going to have to brake sooner, and it just kind of throws off your whole momentum. So having brakes that are a lot stronger, that will resist brake fade, and will be able to clamp over and over again for very long heat cycles, is very good to have. And I'm also going to be getting a brake cooling system. It's basically just a big brake duct that goes right to the back of the pad, and it helps cool the brakes, keep them nice and cool, to help reduce some of that brake fade by keeping the brakes from getting so hot. So that is the plan for the brakes. As far as like performance wise with the engine, it's probably going to stay as is. I mean, this is already more power than with the supercharged 4-liter over here, so I don't need anything more crazy. I'm gonna try to maximize the potential out of this car with just NA application. Get the track tires that are going to be specifically just for the track, and I have my all seasons for daily driving. The upgraded brakes, I just did the Watts link. I already have the BC Racing coilovers, which are amazing. As far as daily driving, it makes the car handle really, really rough, but it is what it is, race car. But as far as on the track, they perform amazing. Once I set the tightness on the coilovers, for whatever setting I set it to, I usually set the setting for the rear tighter than the front. So I this front's a little bit softer, so that way you have a little bit better kind of like cornering ability. I also have this strut tower brace right here to kind of like just stiffen up the chassis. Next thing I'm going to do is I want to get the brace for the back, which will also allow me to install a bucket seat and a harness. Bucket seat I'm also going to need, just because from the days at the track, at least with the leather seat, or actually not the leather, at least with the cotton seats from my original like interior, the cloth tan interior, which got dirty really fast because it rains a lot in Washington. It was not very, it wasn't bad. It wasn't slippery. It was just always dirty and like just like harsh. So I didn't really slide in the seat around, but I definitely felt myself kind of like leaning side to side and turning because it didn't really hold me properly. And then with these leather seats, while they are comfortable and very nice, you slide around a lot. So I'm definitely going to be going for bucket seats. That's actually the main reason why on the driver's seat I still just have like the airbag there. I haven't replaced the airbag for the driver's seat, and I probably don't plan on doing it, so because I have plans to just get bucket seats, and it wouldn't make sense to replace the airbag on that seat just to end up getting a bucket seat anyways. Now if I were to sell it, then yeah, it would make sense to do it, but for right now I'd much rather just save that money for all the modifications that I want to do to it. So yeah, quick update. I guess it wasn't really quick. That was actually very detailed. There was a lot I needed to cover to get you guys up to speed where I'm at with the project. But I do have plans to try to take her out to the track and see how well she runs. So hopefully here in the foreseeable future, they decide to have some events and I'll have the chance to be able to take her out and see how well she does. So for now, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully release a few more videos from here to come for everything I'm going to be doing to the car, and I'll catch you guys next time.